Hello, you're watching World Talks on TVP World. My name is Sascha Fahrbach. Spain's World Cup triumph on Sunday will be remembered for what happened on the pitch, but perhaps just as much for everything that happened off of it. From halftime shows and hydration breaks to President Donald Trump's relationship with FIFA President Gianni Infantino and growing tensions over football governance. This tournament may have reshaped the sport in more ways than one. Joining us now to discuss it all is John Carter, TVP World sports reporter. Good to have you back on the pitch.
Nice to be here, Sascha.
So we started this, was it 39 days ago? Let's just talk about the last game, Sunday night. Spain are the victors, second time now. What are your impressions of the game? A surprise there?
No, I think it was pretty predictable, in all honesty. A narrow victory for Spain, just like they've done in almost all previous matches throughout the tournament. Clearly the best defensive side. And as we've seen kind of throughout kind of World Cup history, the best defence does tend to win. I think it's a kind of good representation of exactly what football is, because we're in an era very obsessed by the individual players. Who are the megastars? And, you know, especially a younger generation is hyper-focused on the individuals. And here we had a team which is very much about, the 11 players, and having a cohesive team, not being reliant on anyone in particular, and just being able to defend as a team, not just the defensive backline. Just one very interesting stat I thought, which kind of amused me, was and representative of their defensive dominance, was that the goalkeeper for Spain, Unai Simon, he won the Golden Glove, only conceded one goal in the tournament. And throughout the tournament, he made 9 saves. And we'll contrast that with Argentina's goalkeeper, Ebi Martinez, and he made 11 in the final. Yeah,
well, I mean, a lot of interest there. But you mentioned the Golden Glove. So what about the Golden Boot? Talking about big players in terms of actual success. So tell us a bit about this champion, and any surprises. Do you think these mega stars, did they, let's say, hold their own in this tournament?
Absolutely, they did. They did. Almost all the biggest stars with the most expectations, they all delivered. So, as you mentioned, yes, Mbappe won the Golden Boot for France, absolutely, and yeah, you would say deservedly so. A lot of expectation on Messi from fans, but I think a lot of experts in football were a bit sceptical. 39 years old, oh, surely he's past it. And I think we also have to, a lot of people have short memories. We go all the way back to the 2022 World Cup and we'd say, he's 35, he's won the World Cup, he's done his, he's played his part, hang up his boots, etc. now. And I think it surprised most people that if he was going to compete, OK, maybe he will. But the fact he was still just as dominant, incredibly so, and finished runner-up in the Golden Boot is an incredible achievement. And yeah, several of the other biggest stars as well, they turned up. So Bellingham, Kane, and Haaland as well. They all met expectations.
Yeah, and I think also you mentioned Haaland there, the Norway story. I think that was also something to watch. It was just amazing for fans. They went really far. So the football on the one hand, the sports, but there was also, let's say, something off the pitch. There was a lot of politics in this one. If we look back at this cup, and let's say in another few years, what do you think is the main things people are going to remember?
Yeah, I suppose things that people remember tend to be like the more unprecedented elements. And I mean, there's one in particular which really sticks to the mind is the moment at which Trump literally called Infantino and requested a review of a red card for following Balogun, who was sent off, and FIFA overturned the decision, thus enabling Balogun to play in the following match. And yeah, I think that will really stick with people because, I mean, we should say throughout World Cup history, there has been a lot of time, the host country, a lot of questions over has there been interference, has there been favourable refereeing decisions. But I think those were rumours. We never had like a smoking gun or concrete proof that, yes, there really was interference. And here, Trump even admitted it. One of the things that really sticks in my mind as well was the treatment of the Iranian squad, which was just, I mean, you have to say it's completely out of line. And they were treated so unfavourably that it clearly had them at a disadvantage. So they weren't allowed to stay in the United States where they were playing their games, so they had to be based in Tijuana in Mexico. So they were travelling back and forth, which was obviously more tiring. Then there was a lot of their officials and their staff who weren't given visas. Like, things were deliberately done to disrupt their campaign, which is... it leaves a very sour taste in the mouth, I thought. Was it any more political than other World Cups? I think, sometimes we have a little bit of recency bias. And, Qatar 2022 was extremely political for a whole raft of reasons. So, but yeah, I think it will be remembered for, yes, on the pitch for Spain and being a great collective. And it was very colourful and well organised. I think we should credit the three countries, the three hosts. Generally speaking, they did a very good job in organising. It all synced up very well together.
But at the same time, I want to ask you as well, I mean, you said we didn't have evidence back for Qatar. We do have some evidence now. Let's go a bit of the politics and the financials of this. I mean, this is just reported from U.S. media that apparently FIFA is the most lucrative World Cup in history, and I think maybe one of the biggest sporting events ever. Apparently they're going to net something like this from U.S. media, $9 billion in terms of all this is for FIFA. Now, we had also Infantino. He was everywhere. He was very much also close before the tournament with President Donald Trump. So when we see this kind of number, when we see the relationship with Infantino and Trump, what does that tell us about the sport? Has it become too politically, economically driven? Is that normal? How does it compare for the others?
Yeah, I mean, it's been on that road for a while, but yeah, now it's really gone into overdrive. And yeah, frankly, we knew fundamentally this is what it was about, having this 48-team World Cup. And unfortunately, I think as football fans and even distant observers, we've become rather cynical about what the real motivations are. Infantino will tell you, we want a 48-team World Cup because we want everybody to be included. So, well, everybody does have a chance to be included. It's called the World Cup qualifiers. So... on the one hand, yeah, it's these 48. It was the 48-team World Cup which enabled this enormous revenue. Each network in every country then bids to have the rights to show it. Then they pay for each match, and so you really generate enormous revenue in that way. Then we had the element of the hydration breaks, which was enormously unpopular with the fans. You could hear them booing in the stadiums every time. And again, this was done on the premise of, won't somebody think of the players? It's hot, they need to have a drink. And the reality is, I think we can safely say, it enables networks to show advertisement breaks. And
like the halftime on the final, right?
Yeah, I mean, do you really want me to give my stark opinion about the halftime show? I've been tossing it up. What was worse? Was it the final or was it the halftime show? I mean, one of the most cringe-worthy things I have watched. But maybe some people enjoyed, Ronaldinho and Ronaldo driving a truck while Madonna sat in the back getting groped by a dancer. Maybe that floated some people's boat. Not my cup of tea.
Well, you could maybe class it in saying like this, there was a lot of Americanization in this particular cup. Let's also talk a little bit briefly about the future of the next World Cup. This one's a bit more complicated because apparently it's set to include 3 different continents. Give us your brief take on the next Cup in 2030.
Yeah, I mean, it's I mean, primarily, though, it is going to be in a couple of countries, you know, across Spain, Portugal and Morocco, but it will be dipping into a few other continents. But there are only a few matches there. And again, Infantino and FIFA will tell you that football is for everyone. It's you know, this joyful thing and everybody needs to be included. I will tell you the reality of the situation is that World Cups go on rotations between continents, so you need to give it to each continent over time, and by enabling it across several continents, you therefore make it Asia's turn in 2034, and the only bidder for 2034 was Saudi Arabia. We'll say no more about that.
All right, so we'll keep that for the next one. So last sort of takeaway, if we look also a little bit, I mean, Russia, for instance, did not play at this Cup. It hasn't played for some time, but there's been more talk about FIFA letting them back in. I know that we spent some time on this some time ago. So what do you think there? I mean, are we seeing a rehabilitation of Russia in this? Will we see more Russia included at maybe the next Cup?
Potentially. We are on that road. I think after the, you know, the Olympic Committee were kind of making very strong noises about allowing Russia and Belarus back in, and even recommending that other sporting institutions do the same. So it seems likely that Russian athletes will be at the 2028 LA Games. It's a bit undecided. Will they definitely compete under their own flag and anthems? Quite possibly. And I think because we're on that road, maybe the 2030 World Cup might come too early for them. It's difficult to say, though, because a lot of it is really going to depend on what the dynamics are with the war in Ukraine, fundamentally. And World Cup qualifying, at least in Europe, is not going to begin for another couple of years. So it does allow a lot of time. So I think it's looking about 50-50 as to whether Russia will be at the 2030 World Cup.
And also, we talked about it a bit earlier already today, is the very close relationship and involvement of President Donald Trump in this football tournament. He also said, I think at a press conference not long ago, because I mean, as we just said, the new Cup in 2030 will be partially in Europe, partially in Africa, and some other games. But he said he wants it only in the United States as a host. So how much stock do we put into a statement like that?
I just don't think... even with all the kind of manipulation and games at play, no, it's not possible. Although, you know, it should be said like this, that... You know, we had a 48-team World Cup, this has just ended, and there is a very strong chance it will get up to a 64-team World Cup by the next one. And the issue around that is pure logistics. Almost all countries in the world are just not capable of having that many stadiums and having that much infrastructure to be capable of hosting that. All but only a few, which would include the United States. So... yeah, who knows where we'll be in sort of 10, 15 years' time. No, it's not going to be permanently there. I think more likely is that it will have to be covered across multiple countries, which in my opinion, I don't generally like it. I think it's nice to have it in specific countries where you get a real taste of that country and you see the background, the enthusiasm of those fans in those places, and you have this memory of how magical it was in that one particular place, for better or worse.
Yeah, so we had the kickoff, and now we've had it. All these games have concluded. This World Cup finished with triumph and controversy, all included, packed up and wrapped up. Thanks, Giancarlo, for telling us all about it. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
And thank you for watching. That concludes World Talks, but stay right here on TVP World for more. Goodbye.